Oh yeah, one more thing I want to address. Just listening to y'all gotta excuse me. I'm real sleepy. I'm tired. I'm just fighting off. Yeah, just trying to stay awoke. But I was listening to oh goodness, listening to some of Godfrey's podcasts on the In Godfrey We Trust channel. Make some really good points here. Um, but first, before I go into that, what does it mean to assimilate? What does it mean to assimilate? I'm gonna assume that you guys can hear me. I'm not really checking to see if the mic's on, but I'm gonna assume that you guys can hear me. Now, to assimilate, going from Merriam-Webster, assimilate means to absorb, digest, or incorporate something so that it becomes an integral part of a larger whole. The term is highly versatile and applies across several disciplines, including sociology, biology, education, and linguistics. Okay, and let me just show you guys. Now, what does assimilate? To assimilate, what does that mean? Excuse me. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm just gonna assume you guys can hear me. What does assimilate mean in relation to taking to the Merriam-Webster dictionary to the site? What does it mean to assimilate in relation to a demographic or population? It means to, like when we're talking about culture, ethnicity, and all, or to a population. To assimilate in relation to a demographic is to absorb into the cultural tradition of a population or group, or to make similar. Okay, like me having to change my hair, like having to, like if I were to straighten my hair so that I could fit in more so with the quote unquote mainstream. Okay, being that the majority of the population are said to be of the Caucasian persuasion. So that would be like an active assimilation, um, like the like when we consider um, Native Amerindians or Native Americans, uh, uh, changing their more traditional way of dressing to dress more like what I showed you, like from like when I showed you that picture from the FBA official FBA.com website, giving its description of the FBA showing black people. The photo looked like it was like from the late 19th, early 20th century, early days of photography, where you saw the Black Americans in Edwardian style fashion. Okay, yeah, assimilating to the uh, to the quote unquote dominant culture. All right, yeah. So, like we talk about cultural appreciation, but then there's cultural. Okay, like for instance, like when they talk about how yeah, they try to make a comparison saying, like for instance, when we will call out someone, let's say like a white female, I don't really call it out, I don't really care, but like a white female wearing locks, right? Uh, Locks in her hair, or what white people may refer to as dreadlocks, right? And let's say if they're talking in a certain manner, and let's say if we were to point that out as being cultural appropriation, um, and then they'll try to claim, well, we do the same thing when we wear straight hair extensions in our hair or wear wigs with straight blonde hair. It's the same thing. It's not exactly the same thing, because see, the difference is that our culture has not been, white people, they have not been under the pressure to assimilate. Okay, they have not been under the pressure where it's actually how they look or how they dress or how they wear their hair even may even have affect their survival even. Okay, yeah. So there's cultural appropriation, but then there's cultural assimilation. With us, with our people, it's not so much about cultural appropriation. It's more like cultural. It's more about cultural assimilation. So please forgive me. I'm kind of tired, y'all, but I really, really, really want to try to respond to this. I should have known that I wasn't done. I forgot that I wanted to respond to this. I'm kind of tired now. Yeah, it's like 2 a.m. So uh, yeah. But I want to share this fair use, fair use. Share this from the Godfrey and Godfrey We Trust podcast. That was just a few hours ago. Something that was said. Okay, and they're talking about again. Y'all cannot don't tell. Y'all sound ridiculous telling Godfrey and telling people that they can't talk about Black Americans as if we haven't been up in here, as if you haven't had people like Tariq Nasheed putting out documentaries and series on Africa, on Haiti. I myself did a series that got a lot of views. Nearly 50,000 views on ancient Egypt. Okay, that's Africa. All right, we've been talking about Africa. We've been playing Black actors have been playing the roles of foreigners. All right, from roots to coming to America. All right, so let's chill with some of that. All right, we all, let's chill with that. All right, because a lot of this is just a bunch of fake outrage. Okay, and again, like I said, Godfrey, he has been living in the United States longer than many of you, being that he is nearly 60 years old, and he was actually born in the United States, raised in Chicago from the time he was a baby, born in the United States, but from the time of 2 years old, he was raised in Chicago in the shot, and he's definitely had the Black quote unquote Negro experience. All right. Uh, the Black American experience as an American citizen born in the United States and as a quote unquote Black man, anthropologically, racially speaking. All right. So y'all need to chill with that. All right. He can talk about with it just like I'm gonna talk. If I want to talk about Africa, Haiti, I will talk about it. All right. Y'all acting like he can't even, how dare he even mention, say USA. Y'all tripping with that. But anyways, and it's a bunch of fake outrage, okay? It's a bunch of fake outrage. Notice he been up in here talking, making jokes, doing imitations for years. Nobody had a problem with it. But now that he has been talking more seriously about, certain, like on that 154 Africa channel, or even just identifying or even daring to even talk about Africa and the more serious things that are going on, like in relation to the Sahel Alliance and certain African nations cutting off from the West, now that he is talking more so about serious things, all of a sudden, everybody, including Yvette Carnell, they want to now come at Godfrey and act as if they have an issue with him. Okay? As if they have been told, somebody whispered in their ear, y'all gotta go at Godfrey. But anyways, I made that point in my last video. Let me just something that they're talking about here, and I'm glad that they're talking because we need to talk it out. But yeah, he's making a very interesting point here. I'm gonna hope you guys can see this. Hey Pookie Bear, how you doing? One more time, I'm gonna be out of here, y'all. I'm gonna leave y'all alone. But just he makes a really good point here in regards to how to how people assimilate, how foreigners and of course he's generalizing. Okay, of course he's not talking about every foreigner, but yeah, there have been there have been what's been said by a lot of Black Americans is that we as Black Americans we have not, as quote unquote Black Americans, the reason I say quote unquote Black Americans because I know that most of us are of Yasharel, but yeah, many of us have said how we have not don't feel we don't feel appreciated or we feel disrespected by immigrants, not just Black immigrants, but immigrants, period, even though our people, our ancestors, and not that long ago, fought and died for these other groups of people, these immigrants to come to this country and have the the more comfortable life that they are allowed to have. All right, or they are have the able to pursue. Okay, not to say that they don't put any effort in themselves. I'm just saying, could they be able to even put in that effort if not for what our ancestors had fought and died for, and were imprisoned for, and lynched for, and you know the story. Okay, yeah, yeah. So it's interesting what he's saying here.
A lot of immigrants, not just African immigrants, but just immigrants in general, think that they're better than African Americans, and they're told that don't mess with these things. And Filipinos, Africans, Spanish people, Dominicans, because to assimilate in America means to be racist against African Americans. That's because if you give white people understand, if they give African Americans their just due, then they have to deal with the fact that the original sin of slavery, which this country has not ever really
hold themselves accountable,
held them accountable. And so there's an immigrant population, and not all immigrants, that come to this country and go, we're better than those black people. Stay away from those black people, because the narrative has been in this country by white supremacists that black people are not human. So if you're not taking into consideration that is an actual part of the culture of immigrant culture of people of color, based on a white supremacist system, then you're just not being realistic. Nobody's denying their.
Okay, so you heard what he said, and that's a very interesting point, whether you agree or disagree. Like what assimilation, some could say that what assimilation is in America is not just, it's not just about, dressing a certain way, or wearing your hair a certain way, or talking a certain way, or dropping your accent, or dropping your foreign accent, or learning the language and learning how to walk, talk, and more like the majority. But it's also, you have to have the mindset of the supposed majority in having a disdain and distrust for the black people who are already here, which is black people in general, but definitely those who Tariq would refer to as FBA. And that's a really good point. It may sound extreme, but you got to think about it. Like, we were just having a discussion. Who was I discussing this with? I don't think it was in YouTube. I think this my family. I think it was with my family. Just having a discussion on the Irish unions, the labor unions, and what was really behind. And like, if you know of the publication, how the Irish became white. And even when you think of when the like the Italians and the Ish people, and after World War II, and when they all became white people, and what white began to represent after World War II, and I could go more into that. Whereas before that, to be white was to be But anyways, he made a really good point. Hold on, let me see if I can rewind. If I could exactly what he said, because it does seem like a lot of people in trying to be accepted more so as the model minority, or the model, or as a to be down with the majority. You have to do more than just assimilate. Of course, I don't believe that this is how the majority of foreigners are thinking. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't think I'm wrong, because I've lived around a lot of foreigners, especially being in Chicago, and particularly when I was on the north side of Chicago. Okay, where just about every person around you had an accent. And I'm talking black people included. Just like how I can imagine New York City being the melting pot that it is. But he makes a really good point, because I noticed, just like what I'm noticing with these little clicks in YouTube, it's like everybody is trying to jump on the like it. I don't know. Yeah. Like when you think, yeah, like I said, you consider the publication. Let me share the screenshot. Y'all gotta excuse me. I'm kind of sleepy, kind of tired. How the Irish became white. Now we know that the Irish, they were a group of, they were a group of Caucasian people who themselves endured some persecution and oppression by the white majority. But you remember how they used to always have like Irish people in cartoons. I used to wonder why they'd always have like in those old cartoons, like from the 1950s, they'd have Irish, like an Irish cop. The police officers always had a the officers or overseers officers, they always had like an Irish accent. I noticed in cartoons. And yeah, like I said, we just recently had a discussion on what was really behind the forming of unions. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I'm telling you, I'm like talking right now. Why am I fighting sleep? Why am I purposely finding stuff to watch that I know is going to get me up in here talking? Um, so let me carry my butt to bed. Yeah, I'll get back with y'all later. Yeah, but wait, let me hear that one more time. Make a good point. And this is not to say that this is how all immigrants are thinking. Of course not. Of course not. But it is something that, really needs to. And I ain't on this FBA crap. But this is something to consider, because there are some people, they feel to assimilate, to fully assimilate in this country and really be able to pursue and achieve the American dream. You're going to not only just have to change the way you walk, talk, dress, eat, but you also have to share the mentality, the supposed mentality of the majority, in having a disdain and a distrust for the quote unquote Negro in this country. Do y'all believe that? That there are some people, they believe that they have to, like, as much as I hate to, I hated hearing this. Who is it? It was what was the name of this bodybuilder, a black famous bodybuilder, who was doing his thing and bodybuilding and weightlifting and all that around the time. Well, he worked with, he used to, I guess, like work out with Arnold Schwarzenegger. When Arnold Schwarzenegger, was new to this country. Before he became, blew up as in Hollywood. And he said that, and I know he wasn't lying, and Arnold hasn't denied this or hasn't responded, but he has said how Arnold, said some racist stuff, down with blacks. I know he's from Austria, and I know about the history of Arnold's father, even though he may have in his DNA, considering his last name, somewhere down the line of his DNA. But anyways, yeah. Like he felt that, like, what was the need of him feeling the need to like kind of shout this down with blacks? Yeah. He, now I know the history and the influence on Germany and Austria, but yeah, almost like what he felt that, that was something necessary for him to do to fit in even more so with America. Because Arnold Schwarzenegger's accent, he still hasn't lost that accent, that strong accent. But he was able to take full advantage of the American dream, and of course it helps him being Caucasian white. Yet and still, he had to some degree assimilate. Yeah, was that his name? Hold on, let me look it up. believe it or not, I used to be into, after I had saw that one documentary that Arnold was in on bodybuilding, I used to want to be, believe it or not, I used to want to, be a weightlifter. Now, I'm not saying I wanted to get all, as a woman. I don't know. I just, yeah. Yeah, I do believe, hold on. Do believe it might have been him. Let me see. Was it him? Let me see if I can find the. Oh, yeah, I was able to find it. Hold on.
Was in my hand and say,
Hold on, let me speed it up.
Robert, you got the better body. Your colors sell the best.
Okay, wait. Yeah, down with the blacks. Yeah. But where's the part? Where's the part? How would I get to it?
I'm hearing people telling me, don't flex, just walk across.
Hold on. Maybe somebody time stamped it. I know that there's a way that they got it set up now where it'll take you to the time stamp. I don't know exactly how to do that. Forget it. Yeah. Dang it.
Say to myself, he deserved that right. I didn't try to.
Yeah, so yeah, because I heard that remember when I shared with y'all on Mustafa Hefni, the Egyptian man, obviously black, who came to this country in the 70s, became an educator. And he wanted to, being that he had the black experience once living in America. And you got to understand, he came over here in the 70s, and it was around the time of perhaps of black nationalism and all that. And he wanted to identify as black because he was racially, phenotypically speaking, black, even if he was not of the same exact haplogroup as black American men. But racially, he was black, as the ancient Egyptians were. But they told him, being that he was born in Egypt, being that he came from Egypt, and they want to claim that, I don't care how black you look, they want to claim that the ancient Egyptians were Caucasian. Yeah, he's still, I don't know what's happened with Mustafa Hefni. I used to try to follow him on Facebook and stuff, but it seemed like he's kind of disappeared. Last I heard, he was trying to, appeal to President Obama at that time, because he's been fighting for years just to identify as Black American or as black. Yeah, and they would not allow him because he was born in Egypt. Now, if he was born in Nigeria, they would, but they would not allow him because he was born in Egypt, and they want to claim that the Egyptians were Caucasian. So he has to identify as Caucasian, despite how the brother looked. Hold on. For those who don't know, Mustafa Hefni. Yeah, y'all remember I shared. Oops. Yeah. And see, he said that they told him, what did he say? They told him that, like, basically, yeah, why does he want to identify with these people? You know, us. Of course, we're not exactly the same, but you know, race is not about, race was not originally about ethnicity, culture, okay? Just purely about phenotype and cranial indices and all that. And I'm talking race. Now, slavery was not originally about race, but racism and race was just about phenotype, not even so much geography.
Identified by the religion first, not the race. So in Egypt, if you are Christian, you are a minority person.
Wait, hold on. I'm just trying to get to where he...
Gradually, I became black first and Arab second. And I rejected my white classification publicly for the first time in 1987, in February.
Wait, hold on. I'm trying to get to...
Well, right after that, I work for a white school district. The superintendent is white. All the associate superintendents are white, even though that we provide services to 30% black population. But the organization is white and the approach is very white. The attitude towards me changed completely after I went out publicly and rejected my white classification. One coworker came to me and told me, a white coworker came to me and told me right after the function that he met with the superintendent, and if I don't keep my mouth shut, my educational career is over.
So you see, his survival was threatened. His job was, you know, they're telling him, you better categorize yourself as white. It's that serious. So imagine how many people are in this country, yeah, who look just like him, but have had to, because of where they were born, like let's say in the Horn of Africa, and they still have to, you know, be listed as white Caucasian.
He said, you have nothing to do with these people. You have a history and a culture. And if I don't keep my mouth shut, my educational career is over. He said, you have nothing to do with these people. You have a history and a culture. These people came from the jungle. You have nothing to do with them. These people lie and steal. When I see one of them in my neighborhood, I call the police.
So this is what he's being told. So imagine how many other immigrants are being told something similar to this. Oh, you know what? You don't have nothing to do with these people. You don't want to. Yeah, and I'm seeing the propaganda, especially now that we have social media, even more so. You know, the Octavius. Yeah, I'm seeing it even more so now. Oh yeah, the bodybuilder. Yeah, yeah. It's something. There's so many black bodybuilders and karate and martial arts legends that we don't really talk about from that era, like the 70s and 60s, 70s, and that a lot of people don't even know about. Or, you know, we know Arnold, we know Bruce Lee. But I don't know, I used to know about, you know, bodybuilding. I don't know. I went through this phase after watching the I think it was the discipline that attracted me. Yeah, what was the documentary? When I was young, I watched the when I was like a late teen young adult, Pumping Iron. And I used to be an athletic person, believe it or not. So I used to know these people, their names and stuff. But yeah, after seeing that documentary, although the documentary I believe came out like the late 70s, I don't know, it just got me like, but I saw it when I was like a late teen, like in the early 90s. I mean, I don't know. And then the next thing I found myself getting into magazines and stuff for body. I just became, I don't know, I just like the discipline, and I'm still, yeah. But yeah, yeah, like it was pointed out with you know, Kamala Harris's parents, that they put down, you know, Caucasian. Now he's just one who, you know, decided to stand up, because understand, yes, I know that we are not the same. and more than likely, we are not of the same. He is not of the same haplogroup as a Black American man. We know that, but you got to understand what race categorization was not about. Originally, it was not about ethnicity. It was not about geography. Okay. Now, slavery, the enslavement of people who happen to be quote unquote Negro, that wasn't originally about what they call race. Now, actually, that was more about ethnicity. If you know what I'm talking about. They knew who they were enslaving. They knew what specific quote unquote Black people they were enslaving. But later, the concept of race, which was actually a little afterward, the concept of race, even though certain ideas go way back, but like when you consider the Babylonian Talmud and, the lies in that, but the concept of race as we know it, like when you think of Blumenbach, it was not about ethnicity, geography, okay? It was basically about cranial indices, like your skull shape, size, volume, and yeah. And, with the aesthetic or the phenotype, racial characteristics, or physical characteristics, which includes your complexion, your features, your hair texture, facial prognathism, and all of that, or lack of prognathism, and all of that. Yeah, so that's interesting. He's being told that. Now, yeah, so people coming over here, hoping for better opportunities. But I mean, I'm not saying that that's an excuse to be prejudiced in any sort of way. But yeah, when you're even being pressured to reject people, yeah, his career was threatened just because of what he wanted to identify. Yeah, his career was threatened. He was told to be quiet, or he could lose his career. And he was working in education, so his fellow coworkers, these were people in education, teaching children, and with this kind of mentality. So these are the people that we've allowed to teach our children. Yeah, so that's just something really to consider, And so, of course, if they're being told this, and see, this was experience he had going back to the 70s. I think when he talked about this particular, when he, was now, he came here in the 70s, and I believe he was talking about his experience in the 80s. So imagine if this is what he's told, and this is what others are told. And so, of course, they're going to tell their people what they've been told. Oh, these people are like this, and that. You don't want to live, you don't want to have anything to do with them. You don't want to, hey, TKC, I'm fighting sleep. Yeah, so let me go ahead and retire. Yeah, but that was just something, let me just play that little part one more time, what he said. Yeah. That's something to think about. I wouldn't mind hearing, more from those who were immigrants themselves. Like, like honest conversation. All this FBA versus all this versus ish. I mean, come on now. But I know, am I like wasting my time? Because it is very obvious that YouTube and social media, I just ain't been checking in the I don't know about TikTok, but I've heard it's YouTube's definitely been co-opted. I believe the majority of these people up in here now that we are hearing from, I believe they're all plants. The ones who are actually, whose videos are popping up as recommends, and when you type in, I'm seriously, I believe there are hardly any regular people left. Real people left in YouTube now. That's how I'm feeling.
But you were born here in America.
Yeah.
Now,
you guys murdered all these. The Australian.
Oh wait, did I? Yeah.
Because a lot of immigrants that come from elsewhere do not respect Africans to have Americans and their way, the fact that they paved the way for immigrants to come here in the first place. And a lot of immigrants, and not just African immigrants, but just immigrants in general, think that they're better than African Americans, and they're told that don't mess with these things. And Filipinos, Africans, Spanish people, Dominicans, because to assimilate in America means to be racist against African Americans. That's because if you give white people understand.
So you heard he said that. Yeah, that's a very, very interesting point. And I know people jump, oh, he said that. Oh, how dare he say African Americans? Look, that's what they're gonna label you as by the census, whether you agree or disagree. Okay, you know what he mean by that. All right. Black Americans, you know what he mean by that. So don't lose your cool. All right, you know what he mean by that. All right. yeah, I had forgot to address this because I'm like actually like kind of talking through my sleep right now. But yeah, that's a lot of people up in. I even noticed through social media, a lot of people feel that it's almost like they feel like to come up in YouTube or to build this little demographic. I'm looking at these little sectors I'm peeking into and stuff. Well, I've been seeing this though. They feel like to come up even in social media, like with a YouTube channel, they have to target Black, not just Black Americans though. Okay, whether it's the easiest is Black women. That's the easiest. All right, in social media that is. Okay, I'm not talking racially profiling really, but in social media that's the easiest. But just targeting Black people. Whether unambiguous Black people, dark-skinned Black people, Black men, Black women, just target, mixed with Black, just, dark-skinned, short Black people. There are some people almost like they feel it's a rite of passage. Like they feel like for them to achieve the American dream or the YouTube dream, it's almost like this is what they believe is a part of assimilating. Into the social media culture. You have to, if you're going to talk, you got to find something, you got to be on some sort of anti-Black rhetoric. Whether you're talking about Black Americans, Black foreigners, people mixed with Black, dark skin, light skin, whatever, just long as there's, some Black there being dissed. So I heard that. She said a good thing about working for yourself is you can work and go to sleep whenever you want. I heard that. I don't know, I guess I'm thinking I got all the time in the world, but let me go ahead and carry my it's about time my husband gets up, and so my sleep pattern be so off. And I'm used to it because I had a mom who worked like graveyard shifts. So as a child, I was a kid in the 70s up late at night because I didn't have a normal childhood in that I had a mother who worked nights, and being that she was a widow, so it'd just be us kids, my older brother, being the babysitter. So it was just, well, and he was still a kid, in a sense. So it'd be just us kids, and and he'd allow us to be up. So I would be up all night long. I'd be like 5 years old. It's like in the 70s watching Benny Hill. Well, TV did go off at a certain time. I know Benny Hill was inappropriate, but yeah, so I've always had like little issues with sleeping because I would sometimes stay up all night waiting for my mommy to come home, in the morning. So the guy in the, when you say the guy in the middle is sitting very feminine. Why you make me catch that? Why did you make me catch that? See? I I think maybe it's just paused like that. But even so,
And if they give
I
African American,
that he has at least one person on part of it. I don't really see this. I don't really watch. My husband, sometimes listening to it. I can't say that I really watch and Godfrey we trust, it's just not, I like Godfrey and I like his commentary and stuff. But I definitely, start listening to the 154 Africa. Now my husband, he listens sometimes in Godfrey we trust. Yeah. But I've always thought Godfrey was cool. It's just, yeah, I can't say that I regularly watch this though. But I do think one of these guys I know I heard is, the XYZ or yeah, I think I might be wrong. Yeah, I know that also, Yeah. Now I know his name is Dante, so that I do know. Yeah, and I hope with Godfrey because there's certain people I think, oh, they're going in a good direction. I really thought that, or I wanted to think that with Kwame Brown. But then I see that he was just, yeah, and I hope this isn't the case with like Godfrey now going more so in this direction of having more serious conversations. Maybe he's always been talking like this on the show and I just didn't know. But yeah, I hope it's not. Think of yeah. Because I do still acknowledge that he is considered to a degree a celebrity. So you got to beware. But I give people the benefit of the doubt. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, I all this people trying to whine over that David Ayala. And it was a kind of good bit because really that David Ayala, that's how you pronounce his name. What he was saying on the Southern how his voice can transition from, and actually he was taking that, extending on Drewski's skit. It was Drewski who's originally joking on British actors putting on a slave voice to sound, and he just extended on that. I think he just used that to try to show, how he can being humorous, but also trying to show how he can change his voice. But like Haven Bullets, aka Haven Bernardez, said in one of his live streams, we've heard this. We haven't just, when you think about it, you have Black Americans who have been taunting Black Americans, like for instance, from the South on how they speak. You talk country, or you talk like a slave, or like he said, he made a good point on that. Because I know, just thinking of my family, especially, considering that I come from a family, of course, reflecting the great migration from Mississippi to Chicago. And I definitely would, because my mama, she totally tried to detach. Well, she did totally detach from her Southern accent, even changing her name because it was, I don't know, almost like there was this shame or it was associated with ignorance or subservient, the Southern accent. And when you think about it, what created the I mean, what did the why is the Southern accent different from the Northern? You know, why are they more likely, you know, to speak in a certain slang or say things like I'm fixing to, I'm fin to, I'm fixing, you know. Now, could that have had something to do with us not being allowed to read? And then I've also learned that, you know, our people when they were enslaved and even after slavery, you know, they purposely had to talk in a certain manner so that they could sound humbled, if you understand what I'm saying. So they would purposely talk. Now maybe that's just, you know, maybe that's not actually true. But like in the South and during a certain time, they couldn't, there was fear of sounding too uppity, you know? So in a way, they did make their voice sound more, you know, subservient, if you will, for fear of being perceived as trying to sound too uppity. So when you really look into like what created the Southern accent, was that a result of now there's, you know, people who say, well, all that way of talking with that may be considered grammatically incorrect in American English and all the slang, I'm fixing to go, they saying that came from country white folks, ignorant white folks. But could that have also been the result of our ancestors not being allowed, who were enslaved, that is, and who, you know, not being allowed to read? Because you can learn another language just by ear, but I don't think you're going to really be I don't know. I feel that you need to know how to read a language to really be able to speak a language. You know what I'm saying? And could that have been picked up by white men in the South and, you know, then bounced back? Thanks for pointing out. There are 4 different Southern dialects when it comes to Black American Southerners: Geechee, Creole, Cajun, and Toot. You know what? That's really something to look into. I am not really that familiar, even though my family's from the South. I am really, that's crazy. I'm like one of the only family members who haven't actually been to Mississippi. Like when all my family, yeah, I've been to Florida, but my family, yeah, would all go down south and take that trip, and it'd be by vehicle, so it'd be a long drive. I never went with them. So I have no, even though I was told by an auntie like we are of Geechee, but I thought that was a Florida thing. But I don't know. I don't know how true that is. I guess I have to talk to another relative. And that would explain the high percentage in my DNA percentage match up with sub-Saharan Africa. You know, that would kind of explain that. But that's one thing. I am very out of touch when it comes to, you know, besides my family from Mississippi, you know, like differentiate. No. I can recognize a Cajun and Creole accent. I can recognize that. Cause yeah, like the Creole, that's like the country French. Yeah, they got the French influence. Ooh, what we ooh, them wonderful. You know, I know I'm sounding stereotypical, but yeah, well, definitely when I think of Cajun, I think of that chef. Ooh, I get won't he? You remember that white chef? Rest in peace. He used to be in the Doritos commercials. And that's the thing. We could take what's being said and what's being joked about, and we could have some really, really awesome discussions. But now you got these ignorant fools. All they want to do is just find a reason to be offended so they can have a reason to start roasting when we can have a discussion. When this could really open up for some very interesting discussions. That's how it used to be. Like, remember we saw the flat earth versus but them flat earth, we'd have the flat earth versus round earth debate. I remember in what was the black sector. But I will say that was hilarious. That was hilarious. And it was all in fun. It was all in fun. But now, people, you had these debates or just discussions. Now, like what happened with Jamar and Godfrey, like they really getting serious. People falling out. But you gotta, them flat earthers, they serious though. They are serious. Like somebody, I just had to remove a post just now. Somebody, bitch, shut up. They getting all mad. Like, this is really serious to you, really. You just started yesterday calling yourself FBA, and you getting mad at me like as if this is something I've insulted your history, something you just learned yesterday, or something you just started calling yourself yesterday. Get the hell out of here. I remember being told, like, okay, in Creole, you think more quote unquote black leaning, Cajun quote unquote white leaning. Right? Or wrong? Yeah, or should I say Caucasian leaning? Yeah, I didn't know that about you, Adam Goody. I had no idea. This is my first time hearing that from, your background. I had no idea. It's very, very interesting. I didn't know you were Creole. I can't say. That's what's funny. I heard that there were those of Louisiana that migrated to Chicago like in the 1920s, but I can't say that I've had an encounter with anyone knowingly who is of the Creole heritage. I can't say that I have. In real life, no. Not that I know of. Yeah. You know my brain. This is no, really. I'm telling you, I be forgetting stuff now. I remember kind of falling off. What was it, Kim? I had forgot her birthday, Kimberly Frazier. And she didn't understand. She was mad at me. That's part of the reason why we still not speaking. And I really do be forgetting stuff now. But it's like I could tell you every little detail of what I was doing in the 70s. I could tell you but just something just yesterday, I'll totally forget. Something just last week. But let me get out of here. Let me get out. There's people in my house trying to sleep. And so, and they got to get up soon. So I'm just fighting sleep, just finding a reason to, yeah, I don't know what's going on. But yeah, I'm so sorry. No, really. I feel like I'm hearing it for the first time. I'm serious. And that's the thing. Like when y'all don't know, I come back here, I try to leave, especially being that I don't have as many people following my live stream. So it's easier for me to come back here and read all your comments. I really do try to keep my computer up, keep this on so I can come back and read all your comments. I really I hate when I miss comments. I really do. I hate when there's something I missed that y'all posted. So I really do be giving y'all consideration. But I'd be seriously proud of myself forgetting. Okay. Now I am, more do recall, talking more with Azur on his background. You say, yeah, Cajun is mostly Canadian French. Creole has a French base too, but it's also mixed with Native American and West African dialects, right? So it definitely is its own language and less Eurocentric. Yeah, thanks for breaking that down. Yeah, like I said, these could, and that's what I kind of miss when we used to have panels and like really good discussions and everything was, it wasn't always about this damn verses and just roasting and. But even when we used to be clowning each other up here, on with a flatter. And what was it back then? I mean, what was the black sector? Mm-mm. He was just y'all. What was that hell? That y'all think y'all spinning it. Y'all honestly really think y'all spinning it. Y'all really think that. Yeah, and it's people who question gravity. Even how do we? The thing is with the whole flat Earth first round. Okay. All right. Only person that got me to Thoughts Camera Action, his videos on that were very interesting. I was able to kind of consider what he was saying. He was the first person to really make me consider the possibility. But this is the thing. If they know, the powers that be, worldly powers that be, if they know that the Earth is flat, what is the point? What's the conspiracy though? Why would they want us to believe otherwise? You know what I'm saying? So it's really kind of pointless. I'm just gonna go along. What did the scriptures say? Scriptures say it's like a circle hanging upon nothing. Now I guess that circle could maybe a spear, maybe the circle is flat. But there's some people who doubt that the earth rotates around the sun and this is a nice house. I don't know what's wrong. I'm about to pass out this chair and I'm waking people. I'm in this back room and oh my gosh, knowing that people are gonna have to get up for work very soon. So let me stop being selfish. And yeah. Truth Unedited's got another video. Got another part to the series. I gotta check that out. Maybe I don't know. Maybe it's what I ate. Some Chinese food. Maybe that's what's got me up. But yeah, I think I'm just because I'm kind of almost like talking to y'all in my sleep. So doing chemistry. Oh my gosh. Oh man. I remember when I was last in school. I met my husband. Oh goodness. I used to just homework. Oh my gosh. I'd rather had 2-3 jobs. It was like just always feeling guilty because I had homework to do. And I was able to put out YouTube videos, but there's no way I would have been able to live stream as I'm doing now. Absolutely no way. I would put out a video back then, like maybe once every 2 weeks or once a month. But oh my gosh, I was so busy, especially having to do 12-page always, and especially when you take up something business related. Always got to do a doggone presentation. No, what video? It's a good video. He's saying what I've been saying for years about where we come from. Wait, what video now? Yeah, you should. You've been kind of missing too, haven't you? Should start uploading videos about Southern Black American history. I've been thinking about it. Just need a starting point. Yeah, what you know what? We all slacking. Oh wait. Who Diana's baby D, who that's the name she was going by. I have been missing her videos. Because I noticed that it's just that with me losing these channels and me switching channels and stuff, because I usually don't be on this here channel. But because I have been wanting her to do videos, on because I know she knows what she's talking about when it comes to phenotypes, like racial phenotypes and aesthetics and all of that. And I believe she has had some, and I shame on me for not watching. I think because a lot of us, I know, speaking for myself, we've become lazy. Our show became lazy. I look at some of my older videos like, how was I able to do that? I don't know if I can focus like that now. And when I was still working and in college, I can't even imagine the homework that you're having to do. Oh my goodness. I remember I was just always feeling guilty about the homework, test, homework. Oh, yes. You're going to have to share that information. Oh, yeah. It's a lot that we're not. Let me read that. I've done the research about a majority of Blacks in the Americas were exiled from Europe. Yes, many straight from Portugal. Now, why is this something that most of us don't know? So you're going to have to share the information on that. And yeah, ironically, on the 154 podcast, it looked like, I haven't listened to the video yet, but it looked like they're talking about Black royalty. Yes, we was kings. black royalty, in Europe centuries ago. I haven't clicked into it, but I see them, Yeah, that's interesting. When we think Western world, we think, we think white people. We think, we think Anglo even more specifically. But actually, this is something I've been finding. Because, okay, you guys think about it, where the Caucasus is, right? Why is it that you have the Caspian Sea, Caspian basically meaning white, like Casper. So you have the White Sea or the Caspian Sea, and you got the Black Sea. And I used to think about that. Like I would think that the Black Sea would be on the east of the Caucasus, and the Caspian or White Sea would be on the west, but it's actually the other way around. And you best believe they named these seas just like the Red Sea, Erythras. There's a reason why they named it, the Red Sea, the White Sea, the Black, or the Caspian Sea, the Black Sea, the Red Sea. We know now the Red Sea is named after Edom. I could show you the proof. Erythras. But it's interesting that the Black Sea is west. And I do believe that it was named the Black Sea because of a certain demographic. Yeah, I was just about to mention the Dead Sea. Yeah, I was just thinking about that. Hold on. I was just thinking, what about the Dead Sea? Let me just look. Let me just kind of. I'm telling you, when you look into how names have changed of different lands, do you know that Nimrod? Yeah, there's spoken of in the scriptures. There's land that's named after him. Of course, we know with Ham. the land of Ham, Cam, Kemetic, same thing. And Ham is one of the most preserved names of, biblical. But even with the Dead Sea, I believe it's called that for a reason. I mean, obviously, but yeah, something that I could tie with the scriptures. Yeah, at one time, there was a time though they were calling us all Moors, just like there's a time they're calling us all black, Ethiop. But yeah, usually when we think of the Moors, we're thinking of the Iberian. But there is a distinction between the Moors, like of Portugal, like of Iberia, or we'll just talk Portugal. Now, I've shown in publications that the Jews being referred to as the Black Portuguese, but also, and we definitely know that the Moors was black. What I've been trying to figure out is what is the distinction. That's the thing. I'm not. I know the Moors were black, but like some people believe that they are descendants of Canaan, like Amorites. Some people believe they were descendants of Put, like Libyans, or said to be. And then I've heard some people say that they are descendants of that they're descendant. Some say they are descendants of what tribe of Israel, but what tribe more specifically? And could the only distinction been that the Moors were more likely to be of the Islamic faith? Was that the only real distinction? Were they of the same people? I know they were of the same race. Yeah, you're right. That's what I was also thinking. Yeah, Moabites. I knew I was thinking Hebrew, but also I've also heard. Yeah, I think someone said that they believe that they are of Ephraim. But yeah, thank you, Black Adam. That's what I'm having some difficulty in trying to pinpoint. I've been able to track Edom though. I've been tracking Edom. Esau. But yeah, that's the thing. I know the Moors are black, but I'm trying to figure out who exactly, because I don't think, were they of Yashura? They were black, even could be anthropologically put in the category of Negro. And I'm talking, I know there was a time they referred to us all as Moors. I'm talking more specifically, thinking more those who were like in power in Iberia, what was referred to as Iberia. That's what I'm trying to, I've been trying to. Yeah, that year, 1492. That's why they love that year. It's not just about Columbus supposedly discovering America. It's not just about that. That was like the final defeat of the Moors. But there was a purge that's been happening. Come to find out, there's been a purge in Europe that's been happening since around the 11th century. During the time of the Dark Ages, I just believe they had the ultimate, of course, there were still people definitely after 1492 considering Benjamin Franklin's quote, which was centuries after. That wasn't even 300 years ago when, that quote Benjamin Franklin, saying, how the Germans were swarthy still and the Swedish. And that wasn't even 300 years ago. But yeah, the purge, come to find out of Europe, it had actually going back to like around the 11th century. What? You don't have to. Oh man, on my Kindle, but I think it's disabled. My old Kindle, I had bookmarked so much and I had read so much. There was a point where I was just, man, I hate that all that happened when I had lost my channel, my computer crashed and everything, because I really, man, there was so much information I had found, like in regards to Britain and even with the Albion caves and all of that. I was doing so much reading. That was my last period of really, really, really reading. You know, it's like now it's like hard for me to even concentrate. But that was my last period of really, really, really intensely like reading. But you don't, man, there was so much information I have found. And it's just, and this is something that I have found out. Like one thing I realized, and I really realized it around the time I did the Ancient Egypt series. The more I learn, the more I realize I don't know jack. This is something you find out. The more you learn, especially when you consider all that has been hidden, the more you realize that you don't know jack. Like you did, it'll blow your mind. When you thought you knew so much, you realize, wow. Like I said, when I did the Ancient Egypt series, I believe it was Yah's will, perhaps. It's like it was information that was coming to me that I wasn't even seeking. I was just doing my research, you know, the ancient, and that's when, because I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't totally convinced that we were, even though this was something I had learned about, it was taught by my brother and studying with him and stuff, you know, going back to the 80s, late 80s. But I couldn't say that I was like convinced, because it didn't even, I guess, matter as much to me, because I was told, you know, my auntie was Jehovah's Witness warning me about pride. And I mean, don't get me wrong, she was right. But still. And when I did the Ancient Egypt series, even though I had, you know, that was, and the information that was like coming to me that I wasn't even really seeking, that was being exposed, you know, like being exposed to me. And at that time, we still had, you know, much access to online libraries and stuff. There was a lot available. Now, like that one publication that we share where, you know, talking about the Black Portuguese, now it's like you gotta, well, they still got, you know, certain bits and pieces, but one thing, I'm so glad I screenshot it. That's why I'm uploading little by little. When I had responded to a certain person's video in the Golden Spheres affiliate, and I had responded because he had shared on treatment sheets, you know, on the Lancados. And I'm so glad I did that live stream years ago, because now when I go back to, you know, certain books that, you know, it's gone from Google. So I'm so glad that I did that live stream. Because, yeah, now, yeah, a lot of things are missing now. Or you got to, yeah, certain things where we could just, at the online library for free now, like, got to pay thousands of dollars. I'm so glad, like when Vladimir Putin, when he shared, the Russian leader, when he shared the from the vaults, the images from the vaults, you know, with, you know, Russian paintings of, you know, people spoken of in the Bible, in the scriptures, you know, everybody, oh, did you know, a lot of us, we already saw that. There were people who actually had the books, you know, Russian iconography, and they were gracious enough to share it with us in online, in YouTube and stuff. So we had already, a lot of us already seen those images, you know? And that's the thing. You used to have people in social media, you know, like I do appreciate Azure TV sharing audiobooks. Like, oh man. Now, when I first was read Babylon and Timbuktu, it was through YouTube. It was through a YouTuber. They actually took the time, no AI at that time. They actually took the time to read. I did that with, what book did I have? White men, Why Black Men Love White Women. That's really by Raja and Perswad. I read a lot of it. Also, I read on Black Wall Street. But you used to have people who took the time and would read an entire book and record it. I don't even think they were getting paid. So, yeah, also, let me see. The Book of Enoch, I remember listening to at YouTube. You actually had people that took the time to read books. Oh, you know what? My husband, a little tiny bit of that. No, me, I'm with Ancestry.com. It just went up that like 2% with the blackness. With the not dramatically. No, nothing. I do want to go with another company. I've been wanting to go for you if it's still, with DNA consultants. It's a little more money though. I do still want to go with another country. They still got 23andMe. I thought that they were like kind of absorbed or shut down or something. But that's interesting. I believe you saw something like that on my husband's a little bit. That was very interesting with your DNA findings. However, if you are in E, you're still that's still Eber, that's still Hebrew, That's still and I believe that's still Abraham. But that's very interesting. Have you ever thought that you might be a descendant of the Moors? That's interesting. Because that's the thing too. Okay, we know that we're quote unquote Negro, but like I can't tell you. Of course, I wouldn't be in the E because I'm a woman. More than likely, I'm in the L, the L haplogroups predominantly as a woman. But that is something we all, know our. If we could all know our our haplogroups in the United States, that would give us definitely an idea of, because I would love for that to be known, just so I can, because I'm trying to figure out who the Moors. That's why, I think, I would like for us all to know what haplogroups we fall under. Because that'll give us a much better idea. And it would help me in my research also. Because also, in me learning this, it strengthens my faith and everything. I'm telling you, everything is going along with what the scriptures say. Really. And then it gives you, I'm telling you, when you learn all this, it gives you a better understanding. What is really, quote unquote, white supremacy? It really gives you a better understanding when you know all this. Gives you an understanding of racism, what is supposedly racism. Gosh, that's what I'm saying. I think that's why I'm so passionate about this, and defending Godfrey, that has got me up in the middle of the night, because I don't want these discussions to be what I believe I'm seeing on his channel. I don't want these discussions to be deterred. I want us to have these discussions. I don't want, like everyone trying to get him to stop talking about this. Don't mention. No, I want us to talk about these things. As much as there's a reason I'm still in YouTube, even though I'm so sick of YouTube, I got like this love-hate relationship. I can't keep complaining if I'm still here. And a lot of people I know that used to be here, they decided to leave. I'm one of the only people, one of the few OGs left. But besides those ones who blew up and they're can't recognize them no more. But became plants. became a part of the agenda. Oh, God, see, I forgot what I was saying that quickly. Lord. Oh, damn it. It drives me nuts. No, I was making a really, 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 really important point. What was I saying? What was I saying? Oh my gosh. Help me out, y'all. Help me out. Where was I going? Rewind. So I was saying it was really important. Oh gosh. Forget it. Let me see. It said the current monarchs in England are actually descendants of Germanic Anglos. They changed their names to be British. Lets me know they're Khazars because they're known for name stealing. Okay. That's something. But are you okay? Because I know what you said with Khazars, but I don't believe that all white people are, if you will, Khazar. I don't believe that. But I definitely believe that the Khazars, if you will, through Britain, yeah. As crazy as it sounds, the white race may have derived from Ham. I know we think Hamitic black, and Ham was black, don't get me wrong. Or at least from Ham's daughters. Okay. I know what you're saying. I definitely believe that's the case with the royal family now. I definitely believe with the royal family. Even looking at them. Like looking at the Queen and Prince Charles. I definitely believe with the royal family. Of Britain, that is. I definitely believe that's their lineage. Yeah, when you learn about the Medici family and oh man. But why you got to hold on? Let me make sure to go to your channel. You're gonna have to do some videos, man. You are gonna have to do some videos. And this was disappointing me. I used to really like Thoughts Camera Actions channel. There used to be videos I would be looking forward to. Like I loved when Biblical Hebrew Awakening, they'd have these marathons. I couldn't get enough of that. Or like the Benaya Israel, they still doing, their channel still doing this thing with or Yah's thing. Although I don't know, they had a series. Oh yeah, they also have a site. But now that my projector does not have Roku, so but they have a site. But that's the thing. It's just really, it used to have some really. Oh, what I was saying is that I had a love for YouTube. Even though now YouTube making me so sick, videos is popping up I don't want to see. I'm tired of seeing celebrity. I'm tired of seeing H8te. I'm tired of these videos popping up and being recommended to me, no matter what, And I try to go to my one channel where I make sure to avoid certain videos, and it pops up anyway. I'm just so tired of what I'm seeing in YouTube, just making me so mad. But I have a love-hate relationship with YouTube because I will say that once upon a time, I loved YouTube. You had people up in here because it was YouTube once upon a time. Despite all of the gender bashing and the mouthpieces, They weren't, these agents weren't dominant as they are now. But besides all that, there was a time, where you had people just really, really putting in the effort and putting together series and videos and suggesting books and reading books to you, sharing books, sharing doing videos, going to museums in Cairo, Egypt. I can't get to Cairo, Egypt. Just like how, we have these sites and stuff. That was the wonderful thing. That was like the blessing, like kind of because it said in the scriptures that the information, that there's going to be, time, the age of information, if you will. I know I'm not quoting the scriptures exact, but at a time, like what they try to keep secret will be shouted from the rooftops. I know I'm not saying it correctly. But yeah, there was a time you had people actually, took the time to read the books that they paid for or share, just like how on YouTube you had people gracious enough to share old school music videos they had on. I still don't know how they were able to do that, uploading on YouTube like old school music videos. There's a time you had people up in here giving you home remedies for, like the time my daughter was real sick with a cough. And I had to look, it was this woman. And see now, and then YouTube started cracking down on people. Now I understand they have to, there's a responsibility, especially when it comes to medical advice and people not being professionals. I get it. But yeah, they start coming at certain people. But yeah, it was this sister. She had a recipe. My daughter had a real bad cough, and she had to work and stuff too. Or they had just sent her home from work. And I'm ignorant. I don't know about like natural treatments and stuff. I was very ignorant. Yeah, but I saw this woman's video, and the cough was real bad. And I had made it was with ginger and honey and I know it's like I should know this. No, but back then I did not know. I know y'all probably, that's nothing. We all know that. No, we all did not know that, years ago. All right. It's just now y'all got social media. Y'all got YouTube. All this is, everybody knows about apple cider vinegar and all that. This was years ago. Okay. And I had made it, and my daughter had went to sleep, and and it just totally disappeared. Just like, remember when I was real sick? Well, 2022 was a terrible year for me. I had got real sick. Back to back, like my immune system. That's where I knew I had to start taking better care of myself. And I I try to share it every year now when it's that time. The recipe, but when I had talked about the ginger root recipe, somebody's like, oh shit. What they say? We in Jamaica, somebody posted to me. In Jamaica, we've been knowing about that. They was in the Caribbean, we've been knowing about that with the power of ginger. I know it sounds like, I should have known. You gotta say that was years ago. Yeah, of course, everybody may know that now because we got social media. Everybody, it's just like how everybody now talk about apple cider, but this was years ago. I didn't know. I didn't really use ginger in anything. Okay. Okay. Yeah, people were like posting me like, girl, like in Jamaica, what they were posting, some people were posting to me, we been knew about that. Like you lately, see. But no, I was like, because it totally took it away. Yeah, and that one recipe I shared with the peppercorns and the onion and cloves and making the soup. Not the tastiest, but It is effective. It's not going to work instantly like that, but it was effective. You know. Yeah, and you remember Chef Mama Rosa? Of course, you got the Sister Radical, Chef Mama Rosa with her recipes. Oh boy, with some of her recipes, they would be looking not very appealing, but they would be healthy. You know, she was vegan. And she'd be sharing her recipes, and they start cracking down on, yeah, what happened with her? They started cracking down on her channel. And I remember she'd always be eating like, it just tastes so good. When she had his food, oh my goodness. Be like oatmeal cookies with no milk, no eggs, no, like, okay. And he says it's by design separated us from the knowledge of our family through indoctrination in the school system. Yes. Like Malcolm X said, only a fool are the enemy to teach their children. Yeah, so yeah, of course, yeah, no, we need to, but you got to make sure that we have 2 or 3 educations. We got to know what they know and what we know. Yeah, that's why I like with the baby boomers. There's quite a few of these videos I noticed attacking, and it's mainly the millennials though. Kind of started though my generation though, this attacking other. But oh my gosh, they sounded like just like with this FBA clan. I know you don't want to hear me, but they sounded like some haters. You guys, going at the baby boomers. The baby boomers were cool. I miss the baby boomers. I miss my mom and them. Baby boomers were cool. They actually were cool. Actually, I dig the baby boomers more so than my own generation. I feel like I was meant to be a baby boomer. That's what I feel. I think the coolest though is the silent generation. But the silent generation, they didn't got away with a lot. Silent generation, they really the ones who turned people out. We always think of the baby boomers, the early baby boomers even. They were just basically kids when a lot of that was going down. That was mainly the people of the silent generation. You know, the people like Paul McCartney age and Richard Pryor age, or would have been, Richard Pryor age, them people. Bill Cosby, they were the ones. They were actually, to me, the funniest comedians. Like Richard Pryor, Paul Mooney now. The silent generation, they the ones. Yeah, they did. What you say? Oh, those are your parents? Oh, okay. My parents are early baby boomers. My grandparents were the GI generation, late GI generation. That silent generation is like right in between. They were actually the coolest, the funniest. I think, yeah, they really are like the silent generation because we overlook them. They were actually a little more influential when it comes to the counterculture. Okay, they were the ones who turned out the baby boomers. Of course, there were generations before them plotting and planning for this to happen. Like when you think of the Kinseys and influenced by the Aleister Crowleys and stuff. So, of course, it was the generations before even them that were planning and plotting. But yeah, the one that was doing all that, like the sly stones and all that, that was the silent generation. We blame the baby boomers for too much, and that's not fair. Oh, okay. You say your parents are both baby boomers. Oh, okay. Oh, see, my parents are baby boomers born like right after World War II in the late 40s. So early baby boomers. My mom, 1948. I think that's also my dad. I know, shame on me for not. And that's another thing too. There's a big difference between the baby boomers. A lot of times we think of baby boomers, we think of those earlier ones, like born from. There's a big difference between, the baby boomers that were like born like right after World War II, and then those who, what they call them, the Joneses. So it's kind of unfair to like lump all the baby boomers. Because you got to remember, there's a big difference. It's those late baby boomers. A lot of them late baby boomers and early Gen Xers, those were the ones who mainly got hooked on crack, sad to say. When you think about it, the one like in the hood that became the crackheads, those were those late baby boomers and early Gen Xers. Like your uncles and stuff. Yeah, for the most part, our parents, well, you saying Gen Z? I would think Gen Z. You mean Gen X and millennials? I think yeah. Okay. All right, there we go. Yeah, Gen X and millennials. Yeah, there is a difference though. One thing too about Gen X and millennials, we do still remember a time. We stepped into. We were the beginning of the online community. Definitely us Gen X's, the beginning of the online, but we also remember a time. We have fun memories of a time, or clear memories of a time before all of that. Before the internet. Gen X is, well, oh my gosh, I'm really surprised that people are listening. I'm like, y'all, do y'all know that y'all listen to somebody talking in their sleep right now? Oh man, my husband gotta go to work. Y'all, I listen to somebody talking in their sleep right now. Y'all listening to me sleep talking. Y'all hear me talking about a purple elephant. Don't be surprised now. Okay, all right, let me go ahead. Yeah, let me get some sleep. Oh goodness. Oh my gosh. Let me get some sleep. I don't know. Just looking for stuff. Stuff just making me mad. It's making me yeah, like I said, it's just I'm just getting mad because what's deterring the conversation, what could be interesting conversation, and these agents are trying to, deter, just trying to get us to just I'm just really getting sick of them. I'm sick of seeing these videos. I know y'all believe me. I'm sick of talking about these people, but I feel like I don't know. I just feel like nobody else is really confronting it. Well, there are. Shout out to Haven Bullets, but I just feel like it's not out. I'm like all desperate, looking for it to hark obey, say something, somebody, because I don't want to address this no more. I really don't. So yeah, thank you for hanging. Oh goodness, I'm about to pass out. Thank you for being with me. We used to be. I can't do the night owl thing no more. We used to have it popping. Hey, Reef. Yeah, it's just how I'm feeling. It's just not enough. I'm just not content. I'm not content, Reef. I'm not content because I even people are like who I'm subscribed. I don't know. I want more people saying something or somebody with a bigger audience because I just want this all to be shut down. I'm really I'm really getting sick of this hole with this FBA crap. I think this is frustrating me even more so than Soto Nation. And I'm tired of seeing the stuff pop up. I'm tired of, I'm so tired of seeing H8te. I don't know why. Celebrity junk. I be on my other channel. I don't know. Well, I should know what that's about. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. You did share with me. Okay, I got it. I just got it. When I saw your post, I just wasn't on my, because a lot of times I don't be on this computer. This is in my background. Yeah, let me get out of here before I end up pass on. Y'all hear me talking about something that don't make no sense. So I will give it to y'all later. Much peace. Okay. Yeah, maybe that's what I should do. So for it to not, yeah, seriously, that with that celebrity junk channel, everything he comes out with, it comes out, and I'm telling you, I do not be clicking in. I do not be clicking in, or I definitely don't click in on that. I make sure if I am gonna watch something, I make sure to watch it like on, like one of my channels that I got like private, so that it's not in my yeah. And that's another thing too. Me just another thing, I'm just seeing a lot of these news reports, some really like some I shared on my community tab. I don't mean to depress y'all, but I'm just noticing some of these headlines too are getting very, very depressing. Yeah, so much peace and much love, my family.